What if I told you that Buckingham Palace is built directly on top of a river? Or that this entire country, the one you think you know, used to be physically connected to mainland Europe by land you could walk across? Britain looks small on a map. Tidy. Predictable. But underneath the surface, literally underneath in some cases, it's one of the strangest, most contradictory landscapes on Earth. Today, we're counting down 50 facts about UK geography that sound completely made up. Every single one is true. Stick around, because the facts only get stranger from here. We're going underground, into the sewers and buried streams beneath London. Across borders so strange that a piece of Wales technically ended up in England. Out to islands so remote that people lived there for 2,000 years, then simply gave up and left. To the true edges of the map which are not where you think. And finally, into landscapes that shouldn't exist here at all. Ancient deserts, sleeping volcanoes, and waves you can surf for over a mile inland. 5 categories, 50 facts. Let's begin.
Beneath the streets of London, hidden from daylight for centuries, an entire network of rivers still flows. Most people walk over them every single day without ever knowing they're there. Fact number 1: London's buried superhighway. The River Fleet was once London's second-largest river, wide enough for ships to sail up toward Camden. Today it's sealed inside a brick sewer, forgotten by almost everyone who crosses it. But stand on a metal grate on Ray Street in Clerkenwell, and you can still hear it rushing beneath your feet. Fact number 2: the river the Romans worshipped. 2,000 years ago, the river Walbrook ran straight through the heart of Roman Londinium, so sacred that people threw offerings into it, including dozens of human skulls archaeologists still can't fully explain. Today, the Bank of England sits almost exactly on top of where it used to flow. Fact number 3: the river under the palace. The River Tyburn flows directly beneath Buckingham Palace. On its way there, its water was dammed to create the Serpentine Lake in Hyde Park, meaning one of London's most photographed beauty spots exists purely because of a river almost nobody has heard of. Fact number 4: the river that fought back. In 1862, pressure inside the buried River Fleet finally became too much. It burst through its brick tunnel with such force that it flooded the half-built London Underground, sweeping away weeks of construction in a wave of freezing water. Fact number 5: a neighborhood named after a ghost river. Ever wondered where the name Marylebone comes from? It's a shortened version of St. Marion the Bourne, a church that once stood on the banks of the River Tyburn. The river vanished centuries ago. The name never did. Fact number 6: the river under the cricket ground. The River Efer flows directly beneath the oval cricket ground and the streets of Brixton. It's mostly forgotten, until heavy rain, when it occasionally reminds London it still exists by flooding basements along its old route. Fact number 7: 20 rivers, 0 daylight. The Fleet, the Walbrook, the Tyburn, the Ephra, these are just the famous ones. In total, more than 20 rivers are known to flow beneath London today, with names almost nobody remembers, like the Neckinger and Counters Creek. Fact number 8: the frozen lake that wasn't safe. In 1867, dozens of people skating on the frozen boating lake in Regent's Park, built using water from the buried Tyburn, plunged through the ice when it cracked without warning. 40 people drowned. Afterwards, the lake bed was deliberately raised so it could never happen again. Fact number 9: the campaign to dig up a palace. There's an actual group today, the Tyburn Angling Society, campaigning to bring the buried river back to the surface as a home for trout and salmon. The catch? Doing it properly might mean digging up some of the most expensive real estate in Britain, including the grounds of Buckingham Palace. Fact number 10: it's hiding in plain sight. Next time you're in London, look at the roads. Those unexpectedly steep hills like Pentonville Rise, sudden dips where the road drops sharply, like Piccadilly near Green Park, they're not random. You're walking through the buried valley of a river you can't see. Britain looks simple on a map, 3 or 4 clean countries neatly divided. Look closer, and the borders get very strange indeed. Fact number 11: only one real international border. Great Britain, England, Scotland, and Wales hasn't had an international border on it since 1707. But the United Kingdom does have one genuine international land border, on the island of Ireland, where Northern Ireland meets the Republic of Ireland. Fact number 12. A different country's laws. No passport needed. Cross from England into Scotland and, legally, you've entered a place with an entirely different legal system. Different courts, different laws, despite sharing the same government since the Act of Union. Fact number 13. The Welsh village that isn't in Wales. There's a tiny settlement called Welsh Bicknor. Despite the name, it hasn't been part of Wales for over a century. It used to be an island of Welsh territory, completely surrounded by England, until the map was redrawn and it simply became English. Fact number 14. The country that fits on a football pitch. 12 kilometers off the coast of Suffolk sits an abandoned World War II anti-aircraft platform. In 1967, a British man declared it an independent country. It has its own flag, its own currency, and its own passports. It's called the Principality of Sealand, and it still exists today. Fact number 15. This country survived a coup. Sealand's history includes an actual armed takeover, a hostage situation, and a rescue mission flown in by a former stunt pilot. All of this happened on a platform smaller than a football pitch, sitting just outside UK waters at the time. Fact number 16. When counties had islands of their own. Before 1844, English counties were a mess. Tiny fragments of one county could sit completely surrounded by a totally different county. Sometimes just a single field, marooned miles from where it legally belonged. Fact number 17. The town that changed hands a dozen times. The town of Berwick-upon-Tweed changed hands between England and Scotland more than a dozen times throughout history. Today it sits in England, but only just, and only after centuries of tug-of-war. Fact number 18. No wall, no fence, no checkpoint. Despite everything, different laws, different parliaments, centuries of history, there is no wall, no fence, and no checkpoint marking most of the border between England and Scotland. Just open road, a hillside, and a sign. Fact number 19. The field that belongs somewhere else. Even today, small legal islands survive. A patch of land can technically belong to one parish while being completely surrounded by a different one. A leftover cork from a map nobody ever quite finished tidying up. Fact number 20. A border nobody's finished drawing. In places, the exact line of the border between England and Wales still isn't perfectly settled in law. It runs through fields, over hills, and along rivers, with no fence to tell you which country you're standing in. Some parts of Britain are so remote, so isolated, that they feel like a different country entirely, because for the people who lived there, in some ways they were. Fact number 21. The island Britain gave up on. St. Kilda is Britain's most remote archipelago, a cluster of cliffs over 40 miles from its nearest neighbor in the Outer Hebrides. People lived there for perhaps 2,000 years. Then, in 1930, the last 36 residents asked the government to evacuate them. Life had simply become impossible to sustain. Fact number 22. A double World Heritage Site. St. Kilda holds dual UNESCO World Heritage status, recognized for both its dramatic natural landscape and its extraordinary human history. Fewer than 50 places on Earth share that distinction. Fact number 23. A rock the size of a living room. Rockall, Britain's westernmost point, is a lump of solid granite roughly the size of a living room. It sits nearly 400 kilometers out into the open Atlantic, and Britain still officially claims it as its own. Fact number 24. Fewer people have landed here than in space. Fewer than 20 people are confirmed to have ever set foot on Rockall. Reaching it means surviving violent seas, then scaling a sheer, slippery granite cliff face with nothing to hold on to but bare rock. Fact number 25. A flight shorter than your coffee break. The world's shortest scheduled commercial flight doesn't connect two continents. It connects two tiny Scottish islands. Westray and Papa Westray, in Orkney, are separated by a flight that takes under 2 minutes, tires barely leaving the tarmac before touching down again. Fact number 26. 900 islands, almost nobody home. Scotland has over 900 islands. Fewer than 100 of them have anyone living on them at all. The rest are left entirely to seabirds, seals, and the weather. Fact number 27. Guarded, not inhabited. Since the evacuation in 1930, the only people who live on St. Kilda year-round are military personnel, operating a radar station in one of the most beautiful, most isolated places in the country. Fact number 28: sheep frozen in time. A breed of sheep called Soe still roams wild across Street Kilda, virtually unchanged since the Bronze Age. Nobody manages them, feeds them, or shears them. They've survived completely on their own for thousands of years. Fact number 29: closer to Norway than to its own capital. Shetland sits so far north that it's actually closer to Bergen, in Norway, than it is to Edinburgh, the capital of the very country it belongs to. Fact number 30: population, 2. Some British islands have a total human population of exactly 2. On Stockholm, off the Welsh coast, a single warden couple are the island's only residents, responsible for monitoring one of Europe's most important seabird colonies. Remote islands are one thing, but the actual edges of this country, the true extremes, are even stranger than you'd expect. Everyone's heard of Land's End and John O'Groats. Here's the twist: neither one is actually the edge of Britain. Fact number 31: the real top of Britain. The true northernmost point of the United Kingdom isn't in the Scottish Highlands at all. It's a tiny skerry called out Stack, beyond Shetland's Muckleflugga, the very last scrap of British land before the Arctic Ocean. Fact number 32: not Land's End after all. The UK's true southernmost point isn't Land's End either. It's a rock called Pednathi's Head, part of the Isles of Scilly, sitting further out into the Atlantic and further south than any part of mainland Cornwall. Fact number 33: a famous walk that misses the point. Land's End to John O'Groats, the famous length of Britain, is a tradition, not a fact. Neither location touches the country's actual northernmost or southernmost point. They're just the two ends people agreed made the best story. Fact number 34: the edge of the map, officially. If you count Rockall, and Britain officially does, the country's westernmost point sits alone in the open Atlantic, hundreds of kilometers from anyone. Fact number 35: northern isn't always north. Here's one that trips people up every time. The most northerly point on the entire island of Ireland isn't in Northern Ireland at all. It's Malin Head, and it belongs to the Republic of Ireland. Fact number 36: England's tip used to be Scottish. England's northernmost point sits at Marshall Meadows Bay, just past the town of Berwick-upon-Tweed, a town that, as we already found out, used to belong to Scotland. Fact number 37: bigger than it looks on a map. Great Britain is the largest island in the whole of Europe, and one of the 10 largest islands on the entire planet. Bigger than most people realize when they're squinting at it next to the continents. Fact number 38: you've climbed inside a volcano. Ben Nevis, Britain's highest mountain, isn't just a big hill. It's the collapsed remains of an ancient volcano. The summit you climb today used to be the inside of a molten crater hundreds of millions of years ago. Fact number 39: the exact middle of England is a farm. Ordnance Survey has actually calculated the precise geographic center of England. It's not London. It's a farm, Lindley Hall Farm, in the quiet county of Leicestershire. Fact number 40: you can see another country from here. Dover is closer to Calais in France, just 33 kilometers across open water, than it is to plenty of English towns further inland. On a clear day, you can stand on the white cliffs and actually see another country. We've covered rivers, borders, islands, and edges. Save the strangest landscapes of all for last. Some parts of Britain simply shouldn't exist here. Geologically speaking, they belong somewhere else entirely. Fact number 41: England's forgotten desert past. The Jurassic Coast, in Dorset and Devon, is famous for its dramatic cliffs and fossils. But 250 million years ago, this exact patch of England was a scorching desert sitting near the equator, before continental drift dragged it slowly north. Fact number 42: England's rainforest doesn't have a single tree. England is home to roughly 85% of every single chalk stream on planet Earth. There are only around 200 of these crystal-clear rivers left in existence, and almost all of them are right here. Fact number 43: the river that disappears every summer. Chalk streams stay at a nearly constant 10 degrees, fed by underground water rather than rain. Some of them vanish entirely every summer, drying up completely, then reappear again, right on schedule every winter. Fact number 44. One lake. More water than a whole country's worth. Loch Ness alone holds more fresh water than every single lake in England and Wales put together. It's not even the biggest loch by surface area, and it's not the deepest, but by sheer volume, nothing else in Britain comes close. Fact number 45. It never freezes, no matter how cold. Because it's so deep and holds so much water, Loch Ness has never once been recorded freezing over, not even during Scotland's harshest winters. Fact number 46. A wave you can surf for a mile. The Severn Estuary has the second highest tidal range anywhere on Earth, beaten only by Canada's Bay of Fundy. Several times a month, that tide surges upriver as an actual wave, the Severn Bore, and surfers ride it for over a mile at a time. Fact number 47. Britain used to not be an island. Until roughly 8,000 years ago, Britain wasn't an island at all. It was physically connected to mainland Europe by a huge stretch of land called Doggerland, forests, rivers, hills, and entire communities of people, where the North Sea now sits. Fact number 48. Swallowed by a tsunami. Doggerland's final chapter wasn't gentle. A catastrophic underwater landslide off the coast of Norway triggered a massive tsunami that helped drown what remained of it beneath the waves for good. Fact number 49. Britain's desert isn't actually a desert. There's a stretch of shingle in Kent so bone-dry and barren that everyone calls it Britain's only desert. Here's the twist. In 2015, the UK Met Office officially confirmed it isn't a desert at all. It just gets a little more rain than the technical definition allows. Nobody stopped calling it that anyway. Fact number 50. The sand that sings. And finally, on more than 30 British beaches, the sand itself can sing. Walk across it, or let the wind blow over it just right, and perfectly uniform grains create an eerie booming, squeaking sound. A genuine acoustic phenomenon, no trickery involved. 50 facts, one country, and honestly, we could have kept going. Britain looks small, tidy, and predictable on a map, but underneath it, at its edges, and out on its islands, it's one of the strangest places on Earth. So here's my question for you. Out of all 50 facts in this video, which one actually made you stop and say, wait, that can't be real? Drop the fact number in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'll be replying to as many as I can. And if you want more hidden history like this, you already know what to do. See you in the next one.